Hi everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to join
Hello,
today's
guys.
again. Hi,
Hey, hello.
me. Yeah. For today's AMA session, we invited Jamal from Cyber Connect and also Jimmy from our from NoteRail to join with us together. Thank you so much to join us on Valentine's Day. Hope Web3 can become your virtual girlfriend or boyfriend. To start with, let me remind again about. So right now, BNB Chain and Cyber Connect, we are co-hosting a Web3 social hackathon. So if you are a developer, no matter where you are, you have any cool ideas or concept, feel free to join with us together on this hackathon. Okay, let's start today's AM session. I will let Jimal and Jimmy to do an introduction about yourself. Welcome again, Jimal and Jimmy. I will hand over to Jimal first.
Okay, sure. Thank you. Hi, guys. My name is Jamal, one of the co-founders at Cyber Connect. I'm currently responsible for the engineering side, like architecture design and protocol design. I actually entered the crypto space back to 2018. So my first project was to build a public blockchain called Nino, which is built on top of Cosmos and the Tendermint SDK. On top of that, we built a live streaming platform called DLive. So before starting my Web3 journey, I also worked at Facebook and Google as a software engineer. Yeah, that's my quick intro.
Welcome, Jamal. Hi, Jimmy. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Thank you. First, I really feel really thrilled to be invited here. I'm Jimmy, a senior solution architect from NoteRail. So actually, NoteRail is a team. For those who are not familiar with our team, I just want to make a very brief introduction. Actually, we are a team of blockchain technologists and hardcore developers that focused on the blockchain technology, from the scaling API services to blockchain as a service. And before, actually, I started my Web3 journey from 2020. And before I joined NoteRail, actually, I worked for the IBM and the Tencent as a software developer.
Thank you so much, Jamal and Jimmy, for the introduction. To start with, I think my first question, because today's topic is about how Greenfield can really help those Web3 socials, I will pose the first question to Jimmy from NoteRail. So would you mind to introduce a bit what is Greenfield, and would you mind to share more details about Greenfield?
Sure, definitely. You must have read the Greenfield web paper because it has been published on the BNB website. So from my point of view, the Greenfield first is, of course, is a decentralized storage network. To my understanding, I think this kind of the very important enabling technology, because the Web3 actually we have already have the layer 1 blockchain and layer 2 blockchain, but data ownership and the data decentralized solution is not that mature compared with the layer 1 and layer 2. So data ownership is very important for the Web3 right now. If you mint an NFT, the metadata can be saved on the blockchain on the layer 1, but the image file, the video files are usually saved either in the IPFS or either in a centralized solution. So it is not ideal way to handle this kind of the data. So the Greenfield actually aims to solve the problems of existing solutions problem. For example, the programmability problem or the data accessibility problem, etc., etc. So I will make a very a detailed introduction later. But from my point of view, the Greenfield is a very exciting project, and it will be very useful and enabling decentralized storage network for the Web3 mass adoption.
Thank you for the quick introduction about Greenfield. So I think Jamal and Jimmy, both the audience and developers, they are quite curious about why we need decentralized storage, especially for Web3 social. So would you mind to share a bit more about this? I will let Jamal to share your idea first.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of decentralized storage, like first of all, decentralized storage ensures like users' data is stored securely and is accessible to the user all the time. So without the need for a centralized intermediary to like manage the data. So this can like, for example, provide the user with greater control over their data, and helps to prevent, for example, like censorship, data loss, and also single point of failure from a centralized system like your backend, your MySQL, etc. So beyond that, like decentralized storage, I think it can also enable more efficient and cost-effective data storage and retrievals. So that can make it a very practical choice for Web3 social network and for people to manage and store their large-scale social data.
Thank you. Jimmy, I think you mentioned the data ownership, right? So would you mind to share also from this angle why decentralized storage was needed in Web3 social?
Yeah, of course. So actually, if you have used the decentralized data storage like a Filecoin, Airweave, or Storage, you will notice that the data uploaded to the decentralized data network actually is saved in the sort of the storage service provider or something. At the same time, the ownership, the metadata, for example, the location of the data and the accessibility of the data, actually, this kind of the metadata is saved on the blockchain itself. So that means every time you access the data, the first step is that the system will help you to check whether the data is accessible for you, and at the same time, it's you can change the ownership of the data to another person. So in the Greenfield, I am very excited about a feature that when you create a resource on the Greenfield, for example, if you upload a book or video to the Greenfield, and you set the accessibility and access control of the resource, the ownership will be measured to the BSC blockchain, to the layer 1 blockchain. So it will be an NFT, so that you can transfer the NFT to another person. So another person with the ownership of an NFT, this person will be able to access the data you just uploaded to the Greenfield. So one is the object itself could be an NFT. Another thing is that the access control or a group. This kind of things can be set and measured as an NFT as well. So this can help the user of the Greenfield or any other similar system have a ability to exchange. At the same time, you can have a very transparent and reliable privacy protection kind of things. So it'll be very interesting and a very good solid foundation to have more and more exciting applications on top of that.
Got it. Also welcome Victor, our solution architect from VMC. Yeah, Victor, we also would like to hear your thoughts. Why decentralized storage is needed in Web3 social?
Absolutely, and thank you for having me. Decentralized storage essentially completes or augments the decentralized application in a way that not only we have the computation that is decentralized across different nodes, thus reducing the single points of failure, but also as an application stack, it traditionally contains from some kind of computation environment, and also as a persistence environment where whether this is a type of storage or some kind of cache. Eventually, this is just a matter of how we store data. And the way decentralized storage works, essentially, it would be similar to decentralized computation. It would also spread out the responsibility and liability around the storing of the data to different nodes. And again, similarly, will reduce single point of failure. We'll also reduce different aspects of government influence one way or another, essentially, where we have some potential actors that can withhold the data or control the data, and not for the users not being able to take it back. like some of the social media platforms. Here, using the decentralized storage as a like vanilla state where we have just spread out across different nodes, both the application and the user reduce their reliance on specific entity, on specific technology, and basically making the whole application stack and the ecosystem around it more transparent and I would say even user-friendly in some way, that users also be able to rely more and trust more to the application, as they know that this is somewhat decentralized and not being like hogged by one central party.
Thank you so much for the sharing. So Zhimao, because you are part of Cyber Connect core team, I really would like to know, for your own project, do you use any these storage solutions, or what kind of use case you are using these storage solutions?
Yes. We actually use a lot like RWave and IPFS right now. So for IPFS, for example, your NFT metadata is stored and uploaded to IPFS server. And for our like social connections, this kind of a high frequent, large scale data set we stored on RWave in a format of a verifiable credential. And other than that, like we have lots of other data, but it's just stored on chain. Yeah, this is currently how it works. Yeah.
Got it. So Victor and Jimmy, I would like to hear your thoughts. I think Jamal mentioned RVB and IPFS, and they are kind of players on the market as the storage solutions. Compare with them, how can Greenfield differentiate from them, and what are the difference between different players in the market? I will let Victor to share a bit more.
Absolutely. I think Greenfield is somewhat tries more to reduce the gap between the Web3 and Web2 development, being able for the Web2 developers not to know or not to learn the new APIs or the new how do you interact with the technology, as it is primarily based on AWS S3 API, which means that for the Web2 developers, they actually eventually at some point it will be plug and play. So you have some kind of application and you can just seamlessly upgrade to the Greenfield. So this essentially reduces the maintenance, the skill set, and everything around the development cycle. As in every company, the way we look at the overall development cycle is you have sort of like COGS, where cost of goods, where you have where you need to understand how much you actually pay for the services. And it doesn't matter which one, so decentralized or centralized, eventually storage costs you something as a company. And the rest is the main part actually is the maintenance and how to actually to develop. And for this, you need developers. For people to understand how the best practices and how to overall include it into your architecture. And the way Greenfield was designed is that Web2 developers don't have to change the way they think. So they don't have to rethink it. They don't have to understand how it works, what is decentralized, what is like different kind of contracts. It will, from their perspective, it is transparent and works the same as AWS S3. But what is neat in the Greenfield architecture is that while it has like this front-facing Web2 interface, behind the scenes it is a decentralized framework. So this will help a lot around the growth and the inception of the project. Secondly, there is naturally programmability. So up until now, there is no existent currently in production level general featured programmability of storage. And this is going to change with Greenfield, where it provides, or based on BNB Smart Chain, which is a full-fledged EVM compatible computation environment, and which means that essentially you can now with Greenfield be able in a decentralized way to program the storage. And again, like this is proven technology. So BNB Smart Chain has been, this is the third year already of the while in production. So it has a lot of sort of like battle scars and a lot of improvements over the year, both in terms of user exception projects and naturally bug fixes, and overall to improve the scalability. So building on this solid infrastructure enables, I would say, like general use cases of production-ready programmability of data. And this is something that the industry hasn't seen yet. And we are looking forward to see a variety of use cases in this sphere.
Thank you. I think, Victor, you mentioned it's very easy for Web2, especially those Web2 developers, to migrate from the current solution to Greenfield, and also you mentioned the programmable, right? So, Jimmy, I think some developers, they also care about how about the performance of Greenfield and how about the security about that part. Would you also mind to share from that angle as well?
Yeah, actually, from the before I talk about the the security and other stuff, I just want to mention that compared with other storage system like Airweave, Greenfield actually is a the contract based. It's not Airweave. Airweave is a blockchain based. So that means all the data will be uploaded to the blockchain itself. So that means you cannot delete it after you upload it. But on the Greenfield, you can have full control of your files, so that you can change the access control and change the ownership, etc. So all the the management data will be saved in the blockchain, but the data itself will be saved in the storage. So talking about the privacy access control, I think the Greenfield from the day one, the design has the privacy and access control in mind. So compared with other stuff, the system like Filecoin, the Greenfield actually you can set the different groups and different users to have the different privileges to the files. But the Filecoin, actually, any file uploaded to the Filecoin or will be public. So you cannot change the privileges of the file. At the same time, that means in the Filecoin, if you want to protect your privacy or protect the data, you need to encrypt by yourself, or I mean by the user, or by a third party, third party services to do it. But in Greenfield, it is out of box. You can just do it from day one. And another thing I think I would like to mention is the performance. The Greenfield actually is based on data redundancy mechanism. Actually, is based on the erasure coding by default, which is very similar to the storage, or but it's different from the Filecoin Airweave, because Filecoin and the Airweave actually is the data redundancy is by replication. So erasure coding actually is not new technology, but it can break the big file into smaller segments and save into multiple nodes of the storage service provider. So anytime you want to retrieve the data from the storage service provider, the Greenfield will give you the location where the primary storage service provider is and where the secondary nodes are available. So you can just retrieve the data based on that information to have a higher performance, because the retrieval could be in parallel, because the different segments can can be retrieved at the same time, and from the client's point of view, this kind of the rebuild of the object can be done by the client. So this kind of things will be very useful to have a better performance and more secure decentralized storage system.
Thank you so much. Zhimao, from your own angle, when Greenfield grand launch, what do you think how CyberConnect can work with Greenfield?
Yes. I think there are two major benefits like we can gain from working with Greenfield. Number one is about the EVM compatibility, and then the second one is building.
Sorry, is my network or
no? It's we also. I think.
Yeah, we
lost
him. We lost him.
Let's switch Mao a bit.
I think it's better now.
He's back.
Yeah.
we got a little bit cut off.
Hi, guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I dropped.
No worries. It happens.
A little bit. Yeah. So I just mentioned like the first one is EVM compatibility. So there are lots of discussions around, for example, what kind of data should be stored on chain versus a verifiable credential option. So the social data itself is very complex. So there are lots of dimensions consists of users' social data. So the core problem of storing everything on chain is the cost. So using like the first one is like store large scale data set in Greenfield. For high frequent operations like a follow vote is not necessary to be present on chain due to high gas cost. Now even like on layer 2s. So we can store this kind of data in a format of verifiable proof in Greenfield and utilize the Greenfield's EVM compatibility to interact with this data from our, for example, smart contract protocol on BNB chain. So that's the first. And the second one is like the built-in access control systems. We can enable, for example, our user to manage their social data in a better way. So they can, for example, set different access control condition and access user groups to their encrypted social data. Also, they can, for example, monetize their social data by converting this kind of a permission into like tradable assets on chain. So these are two major benefits I can think of.
Thank you so much, Jamal. Victor and Jimmy, I think I will let you propose one new use case aside from CyberConnect solution. Propose one new use case about how we can use Greenfield in the web social sectors. Victor, I will let you go first.
Absolutely. From my perspective, I want to see very similar use cases to user storage, but more advanced ones. We something like document editing, some sharing of the documents, storing data, and everything around it. So this, and naturally everything is secured by blockchain and decentralized. And this essentially will enable people to use more and more and open retail users without even knowing, like they don't have to understand how the blockchain works. It's not related to crypto anymore. It's not related to NFT. This is just a pure Web2 use cases that are now upgraded with the decentralization and essentially now cannot be easily blackout and suspended. This will enable a lot of users to understand that blockchain is a superior technology to anything that exists in the market, and will provide a real value and understanding that blockchain is the future.
Got it. How about Jimmy? One new use case about Greenfield.
Actually, the Greenfield has a very wide use cases. Just like if you are familiar with the Dropbox, so people can just upload their files to the Dropbox. But Greenfield, it is a better, more secure and more transparent solution for the file. The personal file upload.
Mhm.
Another use case is, I would say, is something that we can share your files with your friends, and maybe you can just build yourself the website, including all the static files into the Greenfield, because you can change the access control of your files to different persons, so you can have your data to share. Another thing I just to think about is the tokenize of the data. For example, if you want to, if you're a writer or a novel writer, you can just write a novel, and you can sell your novel on the Greenfield, because you can change the privileges of your file after you upload it, and only readable access from some of the users, and transfer the related resources and tokens, I mean NFT tokens, to your potential readers. That'll be very interesting. So yeah, our imagination is very limited. I think the community will have more and more, and spark better ideas based on a solid foundation.
Thank you. It's an open question, but I think some audience may be also quite interested about this. So as a user, can I really feel the difference between if I use if the product I'm using actually they are leveraging on Greenfield or AWS or maybe other decentralized storage solutions? Can I really feel the difference, or actually the user side they cannot really feel the difference when they use the product?
And the way Greenfield works, essentially the same Amazon AWS, which already a partner of Greenfield, can and should be a storage provider as part of the Greenfield ecosystem. So in that way, should the user decide to select as a storage provider AWS as part of the variety of storage providers that exist on Greenfield, then from their perspective, there will be zero difference in terms of performance and service that the user receives versus if they would have gone through the AWS. The difference is now that the same data that would now be stored on the same storage provider will also be replicated to others. So this provides an improved reliability and availability for the users. And also, naturally, besides this sort of like base case, which will be exactly the same in terms of performance and users service, now the user will be able to enjoy new programmability of data. So this does not come out of hand as storage providers has only storage, and Greenfield has programmable storage, and also naturally they can pay in crypto tokens. So this is something that is additional channel for the payments, and user can leverage now existing BNB tokens that they have in the wallet. If the application is decentralized application which receives revenue in tokens, then they can now don't need to go to the bank, sort of like ramp off and then pay in fiat. They can directly do this on-chain payments without bypassing the traditional finance system, hence reducing the fees and naturally reducing the overall maintenance of the payment transactions.
Understood. Jimmy, do you have anything you would like to add on this question?
Yeah, definitely. I just see a comments from our audiences. I think that's a very important thing, is that the Greenfield is censorship resistant. That means just unlike the AWS S3, someone from the AWS can delete your file with the administrator privileges. But on Greenfield, you don't have to worry about it, because all the files actually is owned by yourself and managed by yourself. So this kind of things is very important for the data ownership. Again, I just want to mention that.
Thank you. How about the privacy part? How can we protect the user's profile more securely? And do we need to add a privacy layer on top of it? How does it work? Maybe Victor, would you mind to share? first?
In a way, it is because the data, the security of Greenfield built on top of cryptography of blockchain. In a way, this already provides a sense of privacy because as a user who uploads the data, the system only knows their wallet address, which is anonymous. And now, because you can also pay with BNB tokens, they also don't have anything about your credit card details, because usually when you provide your credit card details, you also need to provide your name, and also from the credit card you can get the issuing company or the issuing bank. So when you pay something with a credit card on the internet, besides this credit card being like now is can be stolen, like, and you can actually like lose money, you can also indirectly provide details about your location, where what kind of payment processor you're using, and naturally your name. And this is a lot of information that already can be used for the social engineering, and even to take advantage and even like to be able to steal your identity. Greenfield, on the other hand, because you're paying, a user pays using the wallet, the crypto wallet, none of that is provided. So this is, I think, the one of the paramount differences in terms of privacy that completely shields the service provider from yourself as a user, as an identity. On top of it, naturally, because you can have data encrypted, but you can have encryption in any system. So this is not so sort of like unique and game changing, but withholding your, or even not your everything that they know about you, this is something that is truly game changing.
Jimmy also mentioned the privacy part. Jimmy, feel free to add on.
Yeah, I would say the data on the Greenfield can also be encrypted. I mean, you don't have to depends on the the service storage service provider do the encryption. If you can provide this kind of the encryption method, you can do it by yourself. Of course, the Greenfield also support the out of box of the data privacy and protection.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
The last question, I think, will be an open question for Jimal, Vic, and Jimmy. So, if you think crazily about Web3 Social plus Greenfield, what will be your most crazy imagination about this? Jimal, would you mind to share first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the crazy sense I can think of is like in the future, there could be a personal data marketplace built on top of blockchain plus Greenfield. For example, like how to own your data, such as social connections, identities, registrations, page views, are like big problems in Web3 social. So with infrastructures like Greenfield, people can develop a personal data marketplace, like where people can truly own their data and verify whether they are, for example, comfortable with like what kind of third-party program can do with their data. Then they can like grant corresponding permission to their data to these third-party programs, for example, by charging a fees from these third-party applications, so that it can form a very large like personal data marketplace.
Very cool. How about Victor?
I will take it, I think, a step further. For users who want to get into photography or modeling, and now visit exotic places or some kind of landmarks and make pictures of the same, the quality of the phone cameras already is extremely good compared like to the something like of the professional ones. And for those pictures, like if you don't mind, or for these pictures to be shared, or on contrary, if you want them to be shared either with you in that as a modeling or as a photographer, if you caught a beautiful image of some landmark, then essentially these can now be monetized and shared with the world, sort of like Shutterstock, but in decentralized way, where any company or any other user that for instance want to use this photo now will be able to pay you directly through the system, and you can monetize your work and also like receive fame, if you will.
Very cool. I think the creators get a new way for the monetizations. How about Jimmy?
Yeah, I really, I'm up to Vic's ideas. I really like the ideas that can share your photos across the web. Another thing in my mind is that just like YouTube, but it's a decentralized YouTube services. So anyone can upload their videos and their code, their anything, right? That is created by himself or by herself. They can share this kind of the amazing works with just like a decentralized network, and people can just view them online, because the Greenfield, if I remember correctly, some of the features are going to be added that the file uploaded to the Greenfield can also be executed. So this is something can open the imagination even further to to make a network from the internet from a totally different perspective.
Thank you so much for the sharing. I like all of these ideas. Yeah, I think that is all the discussions for today. Thank you everyone to join us for today's AMA sessions, especially on Valentine's Day. I hope this session really is helpful to our audience and also our developers. So for the developers, feel free to join with us on the first Web3 Social Hackathon, co-hosted by Chain and also Cyber Connect. And for our audience, please stay tuned for more AMA sessions and activities from Chain. Okay, thank you everyone. Bye-bye. See you next